Good morning, everyone. I woke up this morning proper stressed out about this presentation. How ironic is that? A presentation on well-being and stress, and we stressed out ourselves. But anyway, good morning and welcome. My name is Alex Elmy-Wood, and this is my colleague Jeanette Jackson, who works for the Manchester Stress Institute. Forward-looking organisations often understand the impact and the implications of having a happy and healthy workforce. But I'm talking to the converted, right? So, CIPD recently announced that public sector organisations were the very best at supporting and understanding well-being in the workplace. So if that's the case, why is it that we are continuing to see high levels of absenteeism linked to mental health issues, as well as associated challenges linked to presenteeism? From our work with organisations, we recognise the important role that managers and leaders have on employee well-being, and that's what we're going to talk today about in terms of the positive and the negative impacts. So, what do we know? We know that our working day is becoming longer, which is affecting our physical and mental health. We also know that technology, whilst it's brought great flexibility and agility to our organisations, in a recent study, 9 out of 10 of us suggested that technology is stopping us from switching off on a day-to-day basis. When we look at the public sector alone, in terms of the primary cause for long-term sick, it's stress-related, whether that's workload, whether it's management style, whether it's organisational change. It's the primary cause that we're all facing. And as well, when we look at the public sector, we've got the highest level of sick days than any other sector, at an average of 8.5 days per employee. So from a management perspective, as we've already mentioned, we absolutely understand the key role that they play in making work-life well-being sustainable in our organisations. In fact, British Heart Foundation suggested recently that effective workplace well-being programmes, which are led by effective and competent and capable managers, can bring about an increase in productivity by 29%. But when we look at the public sector, less than 50% of managers have had any training on mental health awareness. And perhaps that's having a link to their confidence and capability at dealing with well-being issues in the workplace when they're approached by employees and colleagues. So what can we do in terms of leading well? When we think about our leaders and managers, I'd like you to think about two key questions. First of all, how capable and confident are managers and leaders in your organisation at supporting and guiding people effectively when it comes to well-being in the workplace? And secondly, in terms of their own values and behaviours that they have, are they considered role models in making that transitional change within the organisation? When we're thinking about developing capability, this is incredibly important to make that change within the organisation and make it sustainable within a business. What we're not doing is suggesting that we are developing practitioners. This is not about individuals needing to diagnose the symptoms that they are recognising in employees. This is about developing their capability and confidence, developing their knowledge in order to get the best out of their people. The first part of that is the whole person. If we think about our leaders and managers, how much knowledge do they have of the person that stood in front of them? Gone are the days where individuals come to work and leave all their troubles at the door. We recognise the fact that a lot of our well-being issues are associated with our own personal challenges and circumstance. And that affects the way that we behave, we interact, we engage with individuals within our workplace. So for managers to have that great awareness of the whole person in front of them gives them a much better chance to offer support and guidance on a holistic point of view, and therefore have a greater chance of having a better impact in terms of the individual's performance at work. Another element to that is recognising the early warning signs and the symptoms of ill health. So I'd pose another question in terms of your managers and leaders. How confident are they in recognising those signs and understanding the topic of well-being? From our work with organisations, we recognise that confidence stems from three things. The first one is a lack of knowledge of an incredibly complex area. The second is fear in terms of saying or doing something that could make matters worse. And thirdly is a lack of proactivity, allowing things and issues and troubles to escalate so that they have to deal with things reactive once they have exploded into something much bigger. So developing the knowledge and capability of managers would allow them to be much more proactive in terms of tackling issues in the workplace. Another area that I'd like you to consider is tackling the stigma. It's absolutely the role of the manager to challenge the views of talking about mental ill health. Challenging the views that it's considered weak, that it's considered uncommon, and dare we say, career damaging. It's the role of the manager to stand up, release some of their vulnerabilities for themselves, and really challenge the idea that talking about well-being and individual well-being isn't something to be afraid of. None of that can happen without building trust and having the relationships in place, the foundations of which is built on honesty, openness and trust, and encouraging managers to develop those relationships within the organisation. And finally, keeping it simple. This is not about developing overcomplicated, overbearing processes that people run away from. This is about having a chat, having a genuine interest in the person that stood in front of you, being able to have open and honest conversations about what's going on in order for those to offer the support and guidance that's necessary. But all of that can't happen until we protect and understand what well-being means like for us. And this is about being a role model. It's like getting on an aeroplane and the encouragement of you to fit your own gas mask first before you can help others. And this is where the science of well-being kicks in.
Am I? Oh, good. Okay, hello, nice to meet you. This is where the science of well-being kicks in. I'm Jeanette Jackson from the Manchester Stress Institute. I'm a biochemist and a sports scientist. So following on from Alex's talk there, right at the very end she said keep it simple. And one of the things in terms of well-being and well-being science is how to distill the science, and there's a massive amount of science around well-being, how to distill that science down into an engaging programme that your staff want to engage with. So when I'm coming to organisations often, and they're running a well-being programme, often there's specific staff that go on everything, and it's the hard-to-reach staff that sometimes need the more support. And so in terms of that, in terms of keeping it simple, I've been presenting for 20 years, and over them 20 years I have yet to meet one person who doesn't want some more energy. Anybody here got too much? So it's a great starting point that. When I'm working with the police, we've just won the Health and Wellbeing Consultant of the Year award for the work that we did with the 999 emergency services, the North West Ambulance Services, the staff that were involved in the Manchester bombing, staff that experienced indirect stress and trauma every single day. And we won an award for the work that we did with them. If we can work with them, then we can work with your staff. And the key thing is, in my opinion, in terms of the science of wellbeing, is finding a hook, engaging your staff into the programme so that they are willing participants, they want to actively get involved, and for it to have an impact and for it to make a change and a difference. And in my opinion, absolutely everybody wants some more energy, so it's a fantastic starting point. Another thing in terms of the science of wellbeing, we're on stand E3. We've had some fantastic engagement from organisations so far, and let me tell you, not one member of your staff, your leadership team, your managers need to be told to eat 5 portions of fruit and vegetables a day anymore. They want to know more than that. They want to get involved in the science of that. And I would suspect that many of the organisations in this room right now already do have an active mindfulness programme. You may have somebody coming in doing mindfulness techniques, you might have meditation programs, because mindfulness can have an enormous impact on our health and well-being, as we know. And yet, I come into your organisations and I do some talks and presentations, and one of the questions I often ask is, when you are feeling stressed, what foods would you gravitate towards? Or when you were feeling stressed, what food, this lady's already smiling, what foods or beverages would you crave? And of course, what do you think I'm going to say? Chocolate, sweets, cakes, alcohol, biscuits. So in my opinion, what we have to do is to alter that baseline, so that when we're feeling stressed and overwhelmed, which we are on a regular basis, then our go-to point is different. Because one of the things that we know is that if we put some sugar into our blood, so we've got some blood and we put some sugar into our blood, there's a biochemical reaction. So your body goes fizzy. There's a biochemical reaction because the sugars obviously impacts on your pancreas, and your pancreas has to respond by releasing insulin. So receptors then become active to work on that insulin. Fat cells are manufactured, so there's a biochemical impact. So what I'm saying to you is, if our go-to place in terms of stress is chocolate, sweets, alcohol, which is fine every now and again, and we're getting biochemical reactions not just from the foods but from our adrenal glands due to stress, what I would suggest is, it's hard or it's more difficult to be mindful and practice mindfulness when your body is fizzy. So there's my tagline. As a scientist, it's a technical term. So when your body is fizzy, and genuinely, I mean this, we do a brilliant 16-part podcast on mindfulness, mood transformation, sleep, stress resilience, stress for beginners. And it sits on a digital platform, and people are less inclined to go for that when they are wired and fizzy. So mindfulness and stress starts, in my opinion, by looking at the actual biochemistry. So in terms of leaders, we do a brilliant program called Feeding the Executive Brain. Boosting concentration, improving memory, improving resilience, improving sleep. So as a biochemist, I can help you to fall asleep like that. I can get you to sleep really fitfully without waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning. I can get you to wake refreshed and have all day consistent energy. So working with the physiology, underpinning your biochemistry, supporting the adrenal function, supporting pancreas and supporting liver, means that your body is stronger. So that managers and leaders have got something left in the tank. They can go that extra mile when you're called upon to support your staff. It's a key fundamental aspect. Now in terms of stress, I'm sure most of you have heard of cortisol and the stress hormones. One thing that I want to focus on is the recovery hormone. So not only do we have hormones that stimulate the body into active kind of action for stress, but we have hormones that also help us to recover from that. And what we know in terms of the science of this is that when we are consistently experiencing repetitive, consistent stress, the adrenal glands can become fatigued. Now we're coming up to Christmas, and I'm sure that you, either one of you or a few of you, know either yourself or friends, that at Christmas holiday baseline with flu. In bed with flu, because the adrenal glands are just saying, I'm absolutely exhausted. I mean, literally, I am exhausted, so I need to just flatline. a really good strategy for people that manage and lead people is to look at how they recover on a regular basis. So I work with athletes. I work with the Olympic athlete team. I work with Premier League footballers. And part of my role as a scientist there is recovery and replenishment. So when I'm working with leaders and managers, what we're looking at is designing a program that allows your physiology and your psychology, we can't deny the psychology, your physiology and your psychology to recover and replenish as regularly as possible, so that you're not going to absolutely exhaust that there, because what we see often is a tolerance can build up in terms of stress. So it never ceases to amaze me when people come into my clinic, my private clinic, or I do one-to-ones with leaders and managers, how much they tolerate. So who here tolerates poor quality sleep, waking in the night, IBS, migraines, bad back, aches and pains, coughs and colds? And we end up literally tolerating that because it just becomes our baseline. That's just normal, isn't it? To have a 3 o'clock energy dip. Well, all my friends can't sleep through the night, so why should I? We were never ever designed to go through life feeling as if we've got mild jet lag. So from a science perspective, we know, or I know, what core nutrients and substrates to feed your body so that your body has got maximum energy throughout your muscles, your liver and your blood. What a brilliant thing that is. I'm excited, and it's my job, so I hope you're excited. So this tolerance that we develop, what we need to do is have an understanding how the impact of diet can have, or what the impact of diet can have on learning, memory and cognition. Anybody here, when they've got to read a really, really important report, gets a third down the page and has to start again? Just hands up everywhere. Just literally, I'm reading, mind goes off and it wanders. What a wonderful gift it would be to you guys to be able to improve your memory and your concentration and your focus. So that's one of the things that this leadership program really concentrates on, is how can we build you and enhance you. And in doing so, what we have to look at is supply and demand. Energy in versus energy out. Is it true for you that some days you will have a very static day, sat at your desk 8, sometimes 10, maybe 11 hours, very static, and then possibly other days you are running around everywhere? So have you ever considered how to program your nutrition intake to match your energy? It's not something we tend to do. So we don't tend to think, actually, I'm going to use less energy today, so I'll take less energy in, and then tomorrow when I'm running around like Billy, I'll put more energy in because that's what my body needs. So a key thing in feeding the executive brain is having an understanding of the energy in versus the energy out. Because even if you put too much of core, you could eat the finest, organic, purest, freshest food, but if you're putting too much in, your body's going to struggle to manage that. And if it's going to struggle to manage that, then the consequence for you of that can be lethargy, poor energy, and poor sleep and stress. So that's a key thing. So in terms of the programme that we've got on Stand E3, did I mention Stand E3 enough? Good. So what we're looking at fundamentally is this, and this is our gift to you. Improving your memory, yes. Improving concentration, clarity and focus, really important. We're going to upgrade your sleep so that you sleep fitfully and you wake refreshed. And then we're going to give you all day energy. Now in my experience, and I've been doing this for 20 years, in my experience is this. One day, every now and again, you wake up and you just feel good. You might have slept well, you might have had a really nice evening with some friends, but you just really feel well. And I'd wager that on them days when you feel energised, fit and healthy, the stresses that are coming to you are more surmountable. You can cope better. And this is what this programme is all about. Now my professor, Professor Roger Bisbee at Salford University, did a 3-year study that I was participatory in. with managers and leaders all right throughout the country. And what we found in these 3 years, when we improved our nutrition, specific nutrition, we found a 15% increase in explicit memory. Explicit memory is memory recall in your cognitive memory recall. A 19% increase in declarative memory. And that memory is around things like this is a table, this is a floor, this is a chair, just your recall of that. When we dropped the cortisol levels, we saw a 3.5% increase in just memory recall quicker. You could just recall things quicker. Anybody walk into a room and can't remember quite what they've got? Or if you're going into a corporate event, you've got to introduce somebody. She did it the other day and called one of her colleagues. What did you just say? Amanda Holden. So and you have this kind of stomach drop. Can't remember. But look at this. This is the biggie. A 65% improvement in sleep. Who would want that? So in summary, from my side, from a biochemist perspective and a sports scientist, is this. Your staff, I know, are interested in health and well-being. You walk into WH Smith nowadays and you cannot move the magazines on health and nutrition. You turn the television on now and there's so many programs on what to eat, what not to eat, how to live, how not to live, how to sleep, and yet we've still got the highest increase in depression, anxiety, mood, poor sleep. So from my side, the information is there. There's a massive amount of information. Go on Google, it's all there. The desire is there. Every one of your staff wants to feel healthier, happier and well. So where's the gap? And for me, that gap is enthusiasm and passion and a call to action. And I really believe that if we can empower the managers and leaders so that they are leading well and they're feeling fantastic, that's a natural role model to help encourage staff to get their path of health and wellness underway. So I'd like to thank you for your time. Please do come over if you've got any questions on sleep, nutrition. I'm your woman. We're on stand E3 and I'd love to chat to you some more. Thank you for your time. Thank you.